Jefferson chose Lewis to lead the mission. Lewis was a former secretary and one of the fellow natives of Albemarle County, Virginia. He also had a former Army captain, which showed Jefferson he had discipline. He also enjoyed the outdoors and already had knowledge of the West, which really benefited for the mission. Jefferson wanted Lewis and Clark to have three objectives. The first objective Jefferson wanted was to contact the Indians. Sacagawea translated Indian language for Lewis and Clark. The next objective was to find the waterway from the Mississippi River to the Pacific Ocean to have easy access. The last objective which Jefferson wanted was to have Lewis to report any geography back.
Before Lewis, Clark, and his men set off on the expedition, Lewis sent out a letter to Clark regarding how they were to act towards the Native Americans. Some people before tried using force against the Indians. However, this often resulted in casualties on both sides. So instead, Lewis wrote that they should use the Indians as an asset. The Indians know the land and how to survive off it. The Indians also had supplies that they gave to the men. For example, they gave the men horses that they used to climb the Rocky Mountains. The letter to Clark states, "The commerce which may be carried out in the people inhabiting the line will pursue renders the knowledge of the people important." The Lewis and Clark expedition followed the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. The path would lead them to the west side of the United States. They eventually hit the Rocky Mountain range. They used the horses that the Native Americans lent them to get over the mountains. Also, during the early winter months, snow began to fall. A few men died to disease and starvation. The expedition had to eat some of the horses in order to survive.
During the expedition, Lewis and Clark brought a Shoshone Native American named Sacagawea along with them. Her job throughout the exploration was to travel with the group as their translator. She was important to the success of the Lewis and Clark expedition because of her contribution. When the group met the Shoshone warriors in the Louisiana Territory, the chief of the Shoshone turned out to be Sacagawea's brother. Because of her, the Shoshone warriors sold them expedition horses that were needed to cross the mountain ranges. Lewis and Clark were not the only brave explorers who journeyed the Louisiana Territory. Zebulon Pike began his own expedition in 1806, searching only the southern region of the Louisiana Territory. Right from the start, he attempted to climb the Rocky Mountains that rose out of the Colorado Plains. 2/3 of the way up, masses of snow all the way up to his waist caused Pike to cut his journey short and turn back. Pike's return route brought him to Spanish New Mexico. Almost immediately, he was arrested by Spanish troops because they feared he was gathering information so Americans could take over the region. Several years later, he was released. Lewis and Clark were much more prepared than Pike, which was another reason of why they were much more successful than him. If he had brought the gear that Lewis and Clark did, then he most likely would have made it up the snowy mountain ranges.